Welcome to Interstage Left. I'm your host, Yvette Monique Clark. This is the spot where we kick it about all things theater, from on stage to backstage and even under the stage. We're talking stories, craft, and the passion that keeps the theater world alive. Let's get into it. Hello, darling.
Hello.
Yes, so today, boys and girls and everything in between, we have the magnificent Deonte Warren, who I haven't seen in a month of Sundays.
Truly. More years than I want to count.
Yes, right? Absolutely. How you doing?
I'm doing so well. It's a busy Sunday here. I'm down in Texas, and we're in the middle of our pre-college summer intensive. So I've been working with youngsters all day, and it's nice to spend some time talking to somebody my age.
I know that's right. I'm so glad you agreed to do my podcast. I do it because I'm fascinated by how so many people from so many walks of life, from so many different places, end up on the same stage. And I want to talk to everybody from the footlights to the spotlights, right? And even people who prepare people to be on stage, all the things. I want to do all the things, right? So the first thing I do is always ask the question, where are you from and how did you get into the business of show?
Oh, good. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, and how did I get into the business? There's so many different places that feel like the beginning, you know. I would say for me, singing started in church, and funny enough, on the street corner waiting on city buses. My mom and I would, she would like teach me to harmonize to pass the time. And so we would just sing together, and then we're just kind of hanging out singing to each other, and people would come by and like give $1 or drop $1 or like, you know, and we were like, wait, what is this? And before you knew it, I was just like singing in all of these different places. And then in high school, I was in a show choir, and our competition choir did a Broadway themed show, and none of us knew what Broadway was. And so one of our main songs was Sun and Moon from Miss Saigon. And the tour happened to be coming through Nashville that year we were doing that show. And my choir teacher and his wife paid for our whole choir, all like 22 of us, to go see that show, touring through Nashville. And it changed my life. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know it was possible to make a living doing that kind of work. It moved me. I cried so hard that like I couldn't get out of my seat at the end of the show. Like my teacher had to come pick me up and like, hey, we gotta go, you know. I was just stuck, and I feel like I got bit. From then on, it was all right, well, this is where I'm devoting myself, and that sort of led to college and life after college and all of the things.
Right. Who were some of your mentors that guided you in this path to become a performer?
I would say I had so many mentors. The first one was my mom, if I'm being completely honest. She was in an R&B group in the 90s, and they would tour locally and regionally, and they recorded a little bit. And so that was sort of my like first foray into singing. And seeing that. And so a lot of what I learned was just watching them practice, watching them rehearse, watching them collaborate and play together in the studio and in rehearsal. A lot of my like first learning of what that was actually watching my mom and her best friends do that. And then beyond that, into high school, my choir teacher, my band director. I was a saxophonist and a bassoonist at the time as well, and and these people just poured so much into me, and the program like paid for my private lessons for my saxophone and my bassoon, and my choir teacher helped me through the college audition process. Just all these people around me that sort of showed me that I could do much more than I thought was possible. Right. And then when I got to college, those were the people that really sort of like showed me that this life that I didn't even know was possible existed. And the woman who ran our musical theater program, her name was Marjorie Halbert at Belmont University, she changed my life, not just as a performer. She formed a lot of the foundation that I have for what a good and solid and dependable and reliable educator is. And a lot of what I learned about even this phase of my life came from her.
Okay. All right. So you made the transition to become an associate professor on track to get your PhD. So we get a hand clap for Dr. Warren. Calling so Dr. Warren.
Oh my gosh, we're about a year and a half in. Okay. Well, and I love that. I'm not associate professor yet. I actually start the promotion process. I started this year, and it takes a full year. So hopefully in the next year that'll happen. But right now I'm still assistant professor, and and it's great. I love it. It's the most amazing work. I get to be a nerd in the voice studio and work with singers, but I also get to invest in them and sort of like what they think of themselves and how they fit into the field, and how they can go out into it and navigate it, and maybe even equip them with a few tools to keep evolving the field as they're engaging with it as well, because it needs to keep growing, and it needs to keep changing, and it needs to keep making room for more voices. And hopefully in my teaching, I can also equip them with some of what they need to go off and do that work as well.
Yes. So for those people that don't know a lot of things about how voice works and what the structure of it is, and the vocal folds and things of that, I'm one of them people. So can you tell me what I'm gonna try to say it right. Pedagogy is? Did I say it right?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, pedagogy just means how we teach. And how we facilitate learning. And so vocal pedagogy is really talking about how you facilitate the learning of the voice, vocal health, different skills for different types of singing and different genres and different paths. And so getting a degree, my master's degree is in musical theater vocal pedagogy. So I'm really looking at understanding not just the structure and the science of voice, but really also understanding all of the conventions and expectations that come with the different genres and the different styles, and understanding how to facilitate the learning of that with learners of all ages, honestly.
Right. So were you a vocal coach prior to this?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, so my bachelor's degree, I got a Bachelor of Music and Musical Theater, and my primary instrument was voice. So even in my bachelor's degree, a little bit of that was both classical and musical theater training, and then understanding vocal health, voice science, all of that stuff came with my Bachelor of Music. And so I always had the interest. I actually got that Bachelor of Music because I knew eventually this was going to be the work that I wanted to do, or at least have it be a part of my life. And I got my first student. I was out on the road with a show. I was on tour, and the person playing the alternate of the lead role, asked, she was like, "Hey, I know your background. Would you be willing to work with me? And I was like, ooh, girl, I can only teach you what I know. Because at that point, I knew it worked for me, but I hadn't really investigated what that meant for other singers before. And so I just shared some pretty basic knowledge about foundational things about breath management and tension management and resonance and just really airflow, some really foundational things. And she went from like struggling through act 1 to soaring through the show in a matter of weeks of working together. And I was like, the information I have can do that. Everything. It felt like, you know, being on stage and being in shows, even on Broadway, felt like, wow, I can't believe I get to do this. This feels like home. It feels like I'm right where I belong. But finding teaching and coaching and the satisfaction and the joy you get from helping someone reach their goals and watching them realize they can do so much more than they thought they could, that honestly feels like a calling unlike anything I've experienced.
That's wonderful. Are you continuing to perform, or is this what your focus is right now, and then you will perform when you get your PhD? Because you know PhD is a lot of bandwidth. So are you focused on that and then you will perform? Like what's the balance?
I'm all the above kind of gal. So I'm literally doing everything. Artistically though, my focus these days is much more on directing. That's what I've been putting the most sort of energy in artistically, but I'm also music directing. Like right now, I'm prepping for a production of Cinderella in Austin that starts next week. Literally a week from today. It's like, oh yeah, I have to look at it. So that starts soon. Music directing that. I just directed a show in Nashville called The View Upstairs, which is an amazing musical written by Max Vernon, which chronicles the Upstairs Lounge, which was a real life event that happened in 1973. There was an arson attack on this queer bar, and 32 people died in the fire. And this story not only keeps their memory alive, but it celebrates this community and the joy that they had and the connection and the love that they had, instead of just only remembering their tragedy. It's a really beautiful show. And as a director, it's some of the work I'm most proud of, because I think we collaborated well and we built a show that literally all of us are proud of, and our audiences are responding well to it too. So that's what I'm spending most of my energy on, but I'm still performing. I still do shows every now and then. I have already signed a contract to do a production of A Strange Loop next summer. So I'll be playing Usher. I told him, I was like, I'm almost aged out. Hold on.
Y'all better move quick.
I know, right? So I'm excited about that. I'll be doing that in Nashville next summer. And I do my concerts still. And I think all of that's important. As we're being educators, it's important for us to stay curious about what the books are saying and what the scholarly articles are saying, but what we do ultimately is a practice. And I think we have to stay in practice as well.
Yes. We have to keep up to date. Like doctors have to read the new articles. You have to be out in the world, know what's going on.
I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than your information becoming outdated, and we're not staying connected with people, and we're not bringing people in to teach us, or going out and having those experiences for ourselves, because ultimately our students pay the biggest price when we stop being curious and open in that way.
Right. Do you feel like some programs just churn out the same and don't update and don't stay current and don't do what you're saying? I mean, do you find that? Have you found that to be so?
Yeah, I think so, especially the ones that I think that you can find that at every level of study, every level of program, every kind of program. And I think a lot of that is really sort of based on the community that gets built. And I'm really fortunate to be in a community that is always as forward thinking as it is honoring tradition. I think, we love the tradition of theater, but we're also not afraid to question where and how it needs to change and evolve. And it is rare. I do really feel like I have the luxury and the benefit of working with a band of colleagues here at Texas State that's almost foundational. It is sort of embedded in every discussion, every decision we make, every adjustment we make to curriculum or culture, and every conversation we have with our students. It's just baked into the thing, and we're all in agreement, and that is rare. And I'm just always so immensely grateful for it.
Yeah. What's the biggest misconception people have about voice training? Like, some people say, do you really need it? Like, is it, because I came from the hood. Yeah. And so I wasn't trained at all. And so, but I picked up things along the way that have helped me get through. Yeah. And I feel like everyone needs to have it. It's very important. Like, what's your stance on people who say, you really need to have vocal training if you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about vocal training is that any of it is natural or innate. Mm-hmm. Singing is a skill that all of us can build. The method that I teach, the pedagogy that's sort of like the center of what I teach. Really, the philosophy is that singing is a set of skills that anyone can build. And look at tennis. You don't really need a trainer or a coach to play tennis socially. But if you're going to play at the highest levels, then you're going to train and you're going to build this. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. It makes sense to me.
I'm telling you, it's just, I like to say that to singers all the time, because we talk about sustainability and health and all that. But I'm like, a professional basketball player isn't going to go run around New York City, literally walking the length of Manhattan all day long, and then expect their body to be in shape to play that game at the end of the day. So why would you do put the same pressure on your voice? You're going around, you're hollering, you're chatting, and you're talking all day long, and then you're like, oh, my voice, my singing. Your singing is the problem. It's everything that you're doing your day and throughout your life. Your singing is the most organized part of what you do. So the reason you're having issues is because of all the stuff around it. Usually is what I find in a lot of people when they come having issues.
Yeah. What are the most important fundamentals that a singer should know? Like, what's your, what is it that you need to do to be able to sustain?
Yeah, I think that's actually the most important thing that you understand, is that everybody is different. And so what your body is going to need is going to be different. The habits that you formed, the things that you have a lot of strength doing, are going to be different from the person, from somebody beside you. So a lot of times people are looking for these, don't have acidic foods, don't have dairy, drink a lot of tea, and and all of these things do have impacts, and they do sort of like move the needle a little bit, but there's no one rule that's going to really be true and beneficial for everyone. It just really depends on your body and what your body needs. And so what I always tell singers is keep a journal, and then let's look at how your body is responding. When you eat 30 minutes before you lay down and go to bed, and you wake up in the morning, does it take you 3 hours to warm up? Or are you ready to sing right away? If you're not ready to sing when you get up, then there are other things we need to be looking at. And a lot of people think it should take 2-3 hours for your voice to be ready. Most days I wake up and I go. and my voice is there and it's ready.
Okay.
And it's because of how you're treating your voice throughout your life,
Right.
and what are the price, what's the price you're paying around it.
Right.
Especially when you're in those periods between contracts. Now, when you're singing 8 shows a week, you're gonna be a little tired, a little recovery, and be all right. but when you're in those periods of in between, and you're like, oh, I got this audition, and you got to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning just to sing an 11 o'clock audition, we may be having some issues that we need to look at outside of your singing.
Wow. So how would you guide someone? Let's just, for an example, you don't even have, just how would you guide someone to help them be able to sustain and wake up? Most mornings I can wake up and sing.
Yeah.
That's really not an issue. But everybody doesn't have cords of steel. And so how do you tell?
It's about data collection. So it's about understanding what are the potential impacts of the things you're consuming, medications you're taking, behaviors you're engaged in throughout the day. How much are you using your voice all day, and are you recovering at night? A lot of people have sleep apnea and don't know it, and so they're aggravating the system all night long while they're sleeping, so they're never really recovering during sleep, and so they're waking up with a lot of agitation. There's also really common thing that's happening with silent reflux, where people are experiencing reflux symptoms, but they're not getting the heartburn, the irritation here, and in the folds themselves. And so a lot of times that's happening, and you really need to see a doctor to know if you're dealing with any of those things. But really, it's about understanding the impact of the things that you're consuming and your everyday behaviors. And so I always say, take a little journal. Oh, I had, dairy this day and I sang just fine. Okay, maybe dairy is fine, but I drank soda really quickly, and then I tried to sing and I kept burping, and all of a sudden my voice was harder to navigate. That's really important information. Because if that happens again, then that's a pattern, and then that's something that's costing you. That soda's costing you, so maybe you don't need it. Maybe you need some water, or maybe even some alkaline water to make sure that your system is regulated. So really sort of like taking note about how your body is responding to certain stimuli. That can, sometimes we do it. I had one student recently who was like, yeah, I've been having trouble with my voice. And I was like, any new habits? And she was like, well, I got this new cappuccino machine, and I'm drinking a cappuccino every morning. I was like, okay, we'll stop for a week and let's see what happens. Voice went right back to normal after 2 days.
Okay.
That price is too high. You can't do that.
You can't drink that every day. Maybe once or twice a week, but you can't drink it every day. Yeah.
That's not going to be true. That same isn't true for me. I wake up and I sing every day, and I always have a coffee in my hand. What I cannot do is drink alcohol and sing.
Yeah.
Not a stick of it. It cannot happen. And just too dehydrated, never can figure out how to compensate for it. And I have friends that could drink themselves into oblivion, wake up the next morning, sing a 10 o'clock show.
Yeah. We hate those people.
So sometimes it's that quick. You'll find it just that quick, and sometimes it can take a while of data collection. But once you find it, there is no freedom that's better than having that information and knowing how to employ it. Unlocking
your healing of your voice is it's a powerful thing. So what is the difference between a vocal coach and a voice teacher?
Oh, that is an excellent question. Some people are both, and most people are one or the other. Okay. So I would say a voice teacher is going to be somebody who's really science-based, who's concerned with the overall function of the voice and understands the basic science, and preferably far beyond the basic science of how the voice works, and is up to date on especially when you're talking about contemporary singers, any pop styles, musical theater styles, is really up on current pedagogy and current research. And because there's a whole school of people who still teach contemporary singing out of the classical traditions. And and our research has sort of shown us is that kind of blanket approach of like classical singing as the foundation of singing is actually potentially quite harmful to most contemporary singers. We don't need to move the same kind of air. We don't need the same kind of pressure. We don't need the same sort of shaping mechanism. Very little of it actually transfers to what we do, especially in these more pop-based and contemporary shows. So you really want somebody who understands and is up to date on the pedagogy, the science, and the research, and will help you with the basic function. Usually a voice teacher also works really well with your doctor team, your speech pathologist, and your ENT for your overall vocal health and those things. A vocal coach is somebody who's much more equipped to help you with music and style and genre and vibe and feel and getting all of that stuff accurate. And some people do both. Most people do one or the other.
Okay. Yeah. I've always wanted to know what the difference was. What is when you get a new client, what's the first thing you listen for in their voice? Like sometimes when you hear somebody say, okay, you have this, or
Yeah. Honestly, when I get a new client, the first thing I like to do is ask a lot of questions. I like to understand their background, what they know, what challenges they're facing, how they phrase and word and frame those challenges. Right. And then I'll listen for those challenges and what they're doing and come up with a plan to address those challenges. But I'm really careful not to have my own agenda with students, to make sure that the work that we do together is based off their stated goals and what they want out of their artistry and out of their sound.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. What's the biggest mistake singers make in auditions?
Oh, this is so fun. I was really just talking about this all afternoon. The biggest mistake that people make is they think that they have to go into these audition rooms and figure out what the people behind the table are looking for. Mm-hmm. And they think that there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I think you almost guarantee that you're going to miss the mark when that's your primary objective.
Right.
Sitting behind both my experience as a performer and especially now on these creative teams, I've learned, and I share this with all of my students, the people behind the table don't want you trying to figure out what they're looking for. They want you to show them who you are and what you do. Right. Yeah. So they can decide if what you're bringing to the table fits the puzzle they're putting together.
Right. Oh, all right.
And it's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard because you're like, I gotta, the notice said this and I gotta do that. But the second you start going into those audition rooms and you're open and you're available and you're vulnerable and you're just sharing yourself and you make a mistake and it doesn't rattle you, or somebody gives you a correction and you're inspired by it and you make beautiful new choices out of it. Like all of that is showing people what they're actually there to see.
Right.
They're actually seeing, like, can you work? How do you work? Can we trust you with our big budget show?
Right.
Do you have what you need to navigate it for yourself? And the only way to show that is to walk in the room and be real.
Yes. It took a long time for me to realize that, I never took really advice from anyone about how to audition. I just figured you had to go in and be very proper and whatever. Then I was like, you know what? No, that's not who I am. It's like, Yvette, what you singing? I'm like, what you want to hear?
I'll never forget. I was in, this was for a Broadway show. I was in the final round and I cracked. I mean, I did this big, huge note and I cracked so hard. And you could feel like I had the room in the ball of my hands. They were laughing at my jokes. And then I cracked really bad and you could like feel all the booty holes clench and everybody's like, ugh. And then the person behind the table was like, do you want to try that again? I said, girl, no.
Today ain't today.
Yeah, the whole room bust out laughing. I was like, I know I got that note, but it's been a long day. I've been hollering all day. Like,
right.
That's just gonna happen again. We can try again tomorrow.
I tried to call back. You know what I mean?
But that was the final callback, and I was just like, I was just being myself. I was like, child, I really didn't think I had a chance at the job anyway, so I was just kind of having fun. And 2 weeks later, they called and said yes.
You see?
And I never sang again. I never went back and corrected it.
Okay. You see?
It was only because like it just didn't rattle me. I knew I had that note and I didn't have to prove it to anybody. And, you know, I knew the conditions we were under and it really wasn't about having the perfect audition. It was about just being the puzzle piece people are looking for. And you either are or you aren't. And you want to keep going until you find the place that you're right for. But the worst thing you can do is curate yourself to an audition. And then you show it to the rehearsal process and you're not at all what they need. And that's not comfortable for anybody.
That's right. That's exactly right. You know what I mean? You just have to, it's like, this what I got. So hopefully you good with that because that's it. I ain't got nothing else for you. Do you help performers struggle with nerves? Because some people are really nervous about performing and that goes straight to your throat. And so do you have any techniques or do you have any advice or whatever to help performers who really want to perform but have really, bad nerves?
Yeah, I say that is a comprehensive sort of issue that you want to address. I think at its base, the best thing you can do for yourself is calm your nervous system down and get your breathing under control. So just some simple box breathing with intention can really change the whole thing and focus your air. Because the throat, I'm just belchy. The throat closing up is a reaction from the air being stopped because that air is not happening when you get so nervous, or it's not flowing freely and you're not inhaling and exhaling. And so just taking some time to breathe really, it sounds so simple, but it is remarkable how many people it helps. It's mind-blowing. And then beyond that, it's a mindset thing. It's a lot of times we have all of this anxiety. It's because we need to investigate why we sing. And we need to investigate why we share, what we're hoping to get out of it, what we're afraid of happening when we fail. And it's a reframing, and some people do this easier and faster than others, and some people never really get there. But it's a reframing of pursuing art, because often we are in the pursuit of perfection because we've watched all of these perfect TV shows, all of these perfect movies, but we've not seen enough live theater to understand that theater is actually not about perfection. It's about humanity in real time. And you've got to allow yourself to have the risk of failing. One, because that's the only way to learn. And I always tell people, if you're only ever going to do the thing that there's no risk of failing in, then you're only ever going to be as good as you are right now.
Yes.
But if you actually want to grow, if you want to keep expanding and evolving, then you're going to be running the risk that you're going to fail. And you almost certainly will fail if you're succeeding.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've got to give yourself the space to do that. And when we're so concerned that if we fail, we're not good enough, you're almost going to guarantee that you keep yourself stifled in this very nervous place. But if you just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to fail, and then I'm going to fail up, and I'm going to fail forward. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to keep going." If you can reframe the whole pursuit of not just theater but life, honestly, if you can reframe the whole pursuit of life from that perspective, then the nerves become a non sequitur.
Yes, honey, I've had epic failures. So, because I'm not, I wish I had a little bit of nerves, but
you need those. You need those. You need those failures. They're so important. They teach us so much. They teach us so much. I've learned way more from my failures than I ever learned from my successes.
Yeah. You learn what not to do, and it propels you forward for the next success.
Exactly. Or you learn what it takes to get it to not fail the next time.
Yes.
You know,
to keep yourself together. Mm-hmm. I ask for folks' resumes so I can see what you do and what else you do, and your resume is quite fascinating in this world of voice. And I want to get to I want to make sure I get time to talk to you about a subject that seems to be passionate for you, the decentralizing of gender norms.
That's right.
Voice. So what does that mean to you in your voice studio? Like what does it mean to decentralize? So the people that don't know what these terms are, or what's happening in the world when you let people live the lives they want to live.
Exactly. Period.
Okay. Minding your business.
That part.
So decentralizing gender norms in song or even in theater, but your voice, your focus is voice. What does that mean?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question. It's such a big umbrella. Essentially what it's saying is we're making space and we're making room for every singer, regardless of how they identify across the gender spectrum, from gender nonconforming to trans to non-binary, to cisgender. It doesn't matter how you identify, there is space for you to find where you fit into the world of musical theater and the world of music and the world of voice, into the work that we do in the space. And it's really investigating all of those associations that are not based in any science other than big, huge social agreements. So we have this social agreement that soprano and alto means woman, and that tenor and bass means male. We have these associations that if your voice is high, then this is your voice type, and this is the kind of music you sing. And really the work that I do is talking about, first of all, a voice part is not your identity. You are not an alto, you are a singer.
Right.
You're not a tenor, you are a singer. I have sung tenor roles and I have sung baritone roles. I have also sung alto roles. And it's because I am a singer, not a voice part.
Right.
And I think the more we take that mindset, the more we can understand that even our range is just a set of habits and a set of skills. And if you want to evolve those habits and those skills, you can. Or if you want to if you're perfectly happy with what you have and you want to use that, you can use that as well. But it is not the identity you're trapped in. And I think once we take that sort of idea, then we no longer say, hey, this person presents male or presents female or presents such and such, and so they have to sing this material. And we get away from all of these gendered associations and assumptions that really sort of frame what our students can and cannot explore as artists. And we really just want to say, it doesn't matter who you are, cisgender, trans, non-binary, the entirety of the catalog is available to you, and the entire world of sound is available to you. So you can be a trans woman and sing low. You can be non-binary and sing high or low. It doesn't really matter. We're saying that regardless of how you present, that has no association with what you have to sing.
Right. Honey, we just need somebody to cover the part.
Yeah, one of my favorite teachers, Jeremiah Abia, who teaches the Abia Way in New York City, he is just unbelievable. And one of my favorite things that he used to say to me was, I used to complain about the low notes in Aladdin, and I was like, I don't think I can sing them. I was so scared about them. I was like, why are you afraid? And I was like, because I'm a tenor and these notes are so low and so and so. He was like, whoa. You are not a tenor. You are a singer. And that blew my mind. I was like, such a simple thing, such a simple redirection and reframing of our identity as artists. And it revolutionized not only the work that I do with myself and the music I allow myself to sing, but what I bring into the studio and how I talk about repertoire for performers as well. That's really the first time I've ever heard someone say, you're not, well, I'm an alto tenor bass. First time I've heard somebody say to me, you're a singer. Okay. I'm going to do that from now on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm doing all these parts. All these parts. Can voice classifications be useful without being restrictive? Like we're talking about breaking down the walls. Can they be, your sopranos could be anybody. Right, the category doesn't have to be restrictive. Does that make sense? Exactly. Okay. So that's how I like to do it. That's how I like to direct. That's how I like to music direct or vocal direct or whatever I find myself doing. I say, who's comfortable singing these notes? Right. You're going to sing this part. Right. Who sounds the most organized and contributes to the group sound in a positive way in these range of notes. Great, you're going to sing this part. And so that's kind of how I go about assigning parts. But that's when I think those classifications can be helpful. When we're singing in big groups and it's time to divvy up who's going to sing where, most of us honestly can sing most of it. It's about where do you have the most habit, where are you the most comfortable, and where can you contribute to the group sound in the most positive way. And that's how I divvy up parts instead of saying you're a soprano and you're only a soprano. It's just saying, hey, sing the soprano part. Right. Because you still got to have 4/4 harmony, but it doesn't matter who sings it. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know why it ever did, but that's just me. So how do you approach classification with students who don't identify within traditional gender binaries? Because some places you may work may not be ready to conform to that. So how do you support people who may be in a production or a choir or whatever in that space, if that makes sense? That's an excellent question. We really talk about range. Where are you most comfortable? Mm-hmm. What's the most usable and most useful, not only to yourself, but to this community that you're performing with? Where do you slot in and where are you the most beneficial? And in the places where that is not in alignment with what that performer needs, I encourage them to say no to the job. If those things are incongruous, then find the place where they are in alignment. And I always try to talk to them about this as well. I need you auditioning and approaching your job from a place of abundance, not a place of lack. And I need you to know the next job is always out there. So if you're desperate and you feel like you can't say no, even when this is going to be bad for your mental health and your overall well-being, where you're going to take this job and you're not going to handle it well, and you're going to be kind of not great to work with and not be around because you're in a place that's not really good for you. It would have been better for you to pass on this job and go take the one that is in better alignment. You show up as your best self, and now you're building a reputation of somebody that's awesome to be around.
Yes. Oh, that was powerful. You got to learn how to say no.
Learn how to say no.
That's a hard word, isn't it? That is a giant word in this business. That is a huge word in this business.
Yeah.
To be able to learn how to say no. Woo.
With love and care and as a full sentence.
Yeah. It is a complete sentence. How can educators like yourself build trust with students exploring their vocal identity? Because they may be because it's been so stigmatized that you had to be a certain this to sing that. How do you build trust with them to unlock that for themselves?
It's really about one, learning, being curious, being open to learning from people directly. I learn as much from my students, if not more, than I hope they're learning from me, and I'm learning from them constantly about, just because this is the pathway and the method that would have worked in my generation doesn't mean that this is what's going to be best for them. So let me learn how they're going to learn. And what creates the best environment for them to learn, not what I think should be the best environment. Really paying attention to how they're responding and letting that be the information that guides sort of my methodology and my approaches. And really, it's about being open. It's about being curious, about being willing to make mistakes without taking those mistakes personally and not making them a big deal. Like you misgender someone, go, oh, wow, thank you so much for telling me, I won't do it again. And you keep moving. Right. But most of us go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you make a big deal. Like, okay, it's not a thing, it's fine. And then you feel scared to say something about it or to give corrective phrases or say, hey, please refer to me as such and such. You don't leave space for that when you take it personally when they correct you. So it's comprehensive and it's all of the above, but none of it is really possible if you're not curating the space. A lot of times we are saying we want students to come and be open, but you cannot put the onus on them. The onus is on us to cultivate a space where we don't have to coax it out of them. We have to be cultivating a space where it's embedded in the thing. And just the way that we're navigating the questions that we ask, the way that we respond to them, the way we interact with them, lets them know that we are open to the fullness of their truth. And we got to be seeking truth.
That's okay. I'm loving this conversation because I have no clue. What changes would you like to see in voice education in general regarding inclusivity? Because change is slow,
and it's hard. And I think the hardest thing for most of us is to investigate the assumptions that we have about, honestly, some of our foundational information, where this music comes from, who gets to define it, who it's for, who do what, who's allowed to do what, and really sort of break down a lot of these rules where they only benefit the status quo. Because the status quo is a representation of what built America, which is not inclusivity. Right. And anytime that we have the opportunity to interrogate and investigate the status quo, not necessarily to rip it up, just for ripping it up. But anytime that we can investigate and interrogate it and we find that it only really benefits one section of people, we can tear that up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Inclusivity doesn't mean it diminishes, it enhances.
Everybody benefits. And that's what I try to tell people when, excuse me, when I'm doing this work, creating space for people across the gender spectrum, it helps everyone, even my cisgender singers, realize, oh, wow, I've been put in this box, or I've put myself in this box, and I don't have to be in a box.
Yes.
I am a box.
Right.
I am whatever I say I am. Everybody gets freed from that way of thinking and that way of working. It doesn't just help one subsection of people. It actually benefits everyone. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is when you create inclusion, when you facilitate belonging, everyone benefits.
Yes. Yes. There's space for everybody, baby. It's not a pie. It's not a pie. If somebody takes a piece, it's not going to, it's not going to go away.
There's always more.
It's always more. It's not a pie. Calm down, everybody. Calm down. It's an ocean, right?
And it's vast, and it is replenishing, and it is always available to us. That's the beauty of art. And I think that's the thing that we've seen throughout human history, throughout war, throughout famine, throughout economic collapse. The thing that persists is our capacity to tell stories and the need to tell stories. And that's why our art form will survive, and there will always be more. And we got to come to the work like that's true.
Yes. Yes. Oh, my love. We've come to the part of the show called Stage Left Quickies, where we do some fast questions. You just give me answers.
Okay.
Favorite warm-up?
Ooh, none. None.
Oh, okay. Most underrated singer.
Ooh. Oh, that's hard. Kelly Rowland.
Dream artist to coach.
Ooh. Dream artist to coach. Christina Aguilera.
Most misunderstood voice type.
Ooh. I'm gonna say Black women.
One vocal habit every singer should develop.
Preparation.
One word that describes great teaching.
Honest.
One word that describes great artistry.
Honest.
See, nobody died.
It's hard. It's hard for me to be succinct. I'm used to
yes, because you are a professor, and you must stretch. You must stretch.
It's so funny, and this PhD program is all about thinking deeply and curating philosophy and the depth of understanding and the depth of thought and understanding context and making it robust. And so getting straight to the thing is a beautiful exercise, because I think that has to be as a part of what we do as the expounding.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you for sitting in with me. We finally got it together.
I know, right? Me and silly time zone, man.
I was like, I didn't even think of that. But we got it. We here. We did it.
We did.
It was so good to see your face.
So good to see you. glasses.
Everybody loves these glasses, honey. I just wanted something a little different. I didn't think I was going to cause a stir.
Right. No, you just can't help it when you're fabulous.
Well, you know, it is what it is.
Oh man, it's such a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, and thank you so much. And keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. We need more of that in the world. So yes, champion on for us. Yes.
Yes.
All right, baby.
Gotta keep these generations going.
Yes. All right, darling.